welcome back to Back in a Mill with Jessica Marritt. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing industry regulations.
What are your thoughts on industry regulations?
As we all know, regulation is definitely going to come into place eventually within the aesthetics industry. As far as I am concerned, I think that this is a great thing for the industry. At the moment, as we know, there is no regulation whatsoever, and this is creating a lot of danger for clients that aren't being seen by industry professionals. This is something that does need to happen, and I think that anyone that's in the industry that's practicing in the correct way, that has trained with accredited qualifications, we should all be embracing. Now, I know that this is a scary time because a lot of us might be thinking, okay, well, will I be able to continue? And that is what we're going to discuss in a bit more depth on this episode. Everything that I'm going to explain is my opinion. I have been in this industry a long, long time, and I am also a member of the JCCP. So I do get a lot of insight and I do get a lot of information that perhaps not everyone else will. So I hope that you do find this episode helpful.
Do you think non-medics will be stopped from performing non-surgical enhancements?
I don't think that non-medics are going to be stopped. I think that would be outrageous to expect everyone who is a non-medic to stop. And it's actually would be a pretty pointless thing to do because there is no difference between the training that a medic and a non-medic will take. It's exactly the same. But again, I think the reason that they are trying to regulate the industry is just to make sure that everyone is operating at the same level. And this should absolutely be the case. Anyone who already is within this field will know. We all see practitioners that are doing things that they shouldn't be, working with carpets, for example. Maybe they are operating and they have no accredited qualifications. And I think that this is also something that the public should have more education on. I've been in education personally for 15 years now, and I am very aware of how accredited qualifications should look. I own a training academy that offers up to level 7 qualifications. I know what that should look like, but unfortunately, a lot of girls, boys that are coming into this industry that are training, they don't know how to recognise the difference between an accredited and a non-accredited qualification. And this is something that we do help with. We have learners that will approach us asking if they can go on to a level 4, for example, and we will check their certificates for a level 3, only to find that they have no accredited qualification even at level 3. So in order to keep the public safe, the government need to do something that makes sure that we are all working to a minimum standard. And at the moment, you can work within this industry as a non-medic as a level 3 practitioner. That is like the minimum requirement at the moment. But I think for me, what has been overlooked is whether those level 3 qualifications are accredited or not. I have many girls, applicants that come to me, they bring me an anatomy certificate and it's not accredited. It's not within an awarding body. So for example, we use an awarding body called VTCT, and we also work with Qualify. Now, these companies are both accredited companies that offer certification that is recognised on the national framework. It is not a qualification that's been created by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. These qualifications have been put together with minimum standards, minimum learning hours, minimum guidance, and everything is done to a level that has been signed off and ticked as, yep, this qualification is everything that it should be, and you can actually take those with you anywhere in the world. And this is what is definitely a grey area at the moment, and we need to be taking more care of. We all invest a lot of money into learning, into becoming practitioners, nurses, whatever it is that your background may be. And it is sad at the moment that training academies aren't offering what they should be. And that leaves that person exposed to potentially being stopped from going ahead training and be stopped from practicing if those qualifications aren't what they seem. This is something that I'm very passionate about. We do check an insane amount of certificates week in, week out, just trying to help people understand what qualifications that they do have. And accreditation is the most important thing at the moment. And this is something that we all need to make sure that we have.
So why is level 5 important?
In my opinion, it's important to have a level 5 because when the government do announce the new regulations, which, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're going to announce them tomorrow, and it just wouldn't be practical for them to do that. They have to allow everyone that's already working the time in order to work towards these qualifications. It is very, very unlikely that they're going to come in and say, right, everyone's got a week to either be at this level or they can't practice. That would be completely unrealistic of them to do that, especially given the amount of practitioners that they may be that only have a level 3 qualification. As that's been accepted in the past, they have to allow those people time to work towards progression. Now, in my opinion, if you are already in this industry and you only have a level 3, and you are planning to do this as a future, this is your career, maybe you've invested a lot of money into your clinic, there isn't really any reason why you shouldn't want to get a higher level. If this is your passion and what you have worked for so long and invested so much time and effort into, why would you not want to progress? And I think everyone should be working towards at least a level 5. And I think if I had to give my personal opinion, this is where I think the government are going to end up landing with this. I think they're going to say that if you already have a level 3 that is accredited, it has to be accredited. There has to be an accredited anatomy in there. Without an accredited anatomy, there is no way that you could be possibly competent to deal with a client safely from an anatomical perspective. So I think that anyone that has a level 3 that is accredited will probably be made to move up eventually to a level 5. But I think that will take a couple of years, and I think that they will give us time to work towards that. So anyone that is at a level 3, you don't need to overly worry. But I would say you should definitely start putting those steps in place to upskill yourselves to make sure that you're not at that minimum level, because this is the minimum, it's the level 3. So if you can sit yourself somewhere nice and in between, so it goes level 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. I'm not saying that I think you need to have a level 7 right away, but I think if you can work towards a nice middle ground and go for the level 5, that puts you at a really safe zone, and that puts you in a position of actually being further informed on treatments. It will increase your knowledge base, and that will end up ultimately resulting in better client satisfaction, because you will be considered more of an expert in that area. And the level 5 is an amazing qualification. It covers a lot of areas and aspects that you do not get in the level 3, and you will notice that it will dramatically improve your practice by ensuring that you pop yourselves onto the highest qualifications that you feel is possible for yourself.
What effects could this have on a business that doesn't have level 5?
If you don't already have a level 5 qualification, in my opinion, it's something that you should seriously be considering, especially if this is something that you're wanting to do, as I've said, as a career. If you're wanting to do this as a career, why would you not want to progress to that highest level as possible? And if your business, this is the question that I would ask myself if I was a level 3, if my business were to close down tomorrow, what other provision do I have in place to make sure that I am safe and that I still have an income? And I think that the answer for a lot of people watching this would be, oh my God, no. If my business were to be stopped from operating tomorrow, I don't have a second option. I don't have a plan B. And as much as I don't think they're going to say, you have to stop operating tomorrow because it's not going to be practical, you don't want to put yourself in that stressful position. If they say it's a year, it's 2 years, you don't want to put yourself in that stressful position and wait until that happens to actually start to do something about it. I think that the most sensible decisions that we can make as professionals is to say, okay, this is likely to happen. This isn't going away. This is still very much here, and this is happening. The government aren't just going to forget about this. And Unfortunately, there is a lot of stigma at the moment surrounding medics, non-medics, complications, who's causing them. And I think all of this could just be stopped if we were all operating at the same level. And we should be. Every other industry is regulated, and this is a very grey area and an area that puts the public at risk. So I think we should all be embracing these regulation changes and trying to just put some steps in place to upskill ourselves before waiting for the worst thing to happen, because the time that it takes you to actually enroll, qualify is not that long. So by the time you've done that, even if they announce the regulations in a year, you're already working towards that. You might have completed half of your qualification. You might be 3/4 of the way through. So you're going to be putting yourselves in a lot less stressful situations, knowing that you've already put steps in place to upskill yourself onto further qualifications.
How can it positively change your business for your clients and your knowledge and skill set?
So this will have an overall positive effect on your business as an entirety. As a practitioner, as a professional, you know that you are offering the best service that you possibly can, because you are putting yourself in a position of power, and you're putting yourself in a position of, actually, I have chosen to do this without actually being made to do this, because you understand that if there's another level that you can achieve, you should always aspire to hit that level. And I think that this will be apparent to not only your clients, but everyone around you. We should all be setting the example to work towards these minimum standards, and it will increase client satisfaction because you will naturally have more knowledge. You will be able to offer more treatments safely within your clinics, and you actually know, hands down, that you hold an accredited qualification that no one's going to be able to take away from you. And this is what we all kind of need to be considering at the moment. Let's not wait until we are forced into these positions of having to do something. Let's make sure that our clients know that, oh, my practitioner is a level 5. It's very impressive to be able to obtain a level 5. And I honestly think that if we all have this, a lot of the medic, non-medic disagreements and blame games that we have within this industry, they will significantly reduce, if not stop, because we all will have the same level of understanding. And like I said before, this should be the same within any industry. You should all have a minimum entry requirement, and that will result in better client safety, which is what we should all be putting first.
What would happen if I realised that my certificates weren't accredited?
If you are in a position where you realise that you have qualifications that are not accredited, the first steps that you need to take are to ensure that you contact an academy or an awarding body in which you can instantly obtain that certificate to have your qualification accredited. Because as you may or may not be aware, and this is a little bit of a grey area again within the industry, and a lot of practitioners won't actually know this, but when we qualify and we sign up to have our insurance and we go ahead with insurance policies, 9 times out of 10, those insurance companies will not ask to see your certificates. And again, something that definitely needs to change, because they're not asking to see the certificates, and they only ask you to present that in the case of a claim. But actually, if you don't know that you don't have an accredited qualification, and then you have a claim and they say, okay, we're going to help you with your claim that you've been spending thousands of pounds on a year, and they say, sorry, we can't help you with this claim because you don't have an accredited certificate, that is just such a bad situation to be in, because one, you don't have a valid insurance. So this is something that I know that they have got better at, but I know for sure last year I was taking on learners within my academy and none of them were asked to provide certification. So definitely just make sure And if you don't know how to check if a qualification is accredited or not, reach out. We are more than happy to help you. Everything should have an accredited number within your certificate. That is one way of checking. And there should be an awarding body that's affiliated to that certificate, especially, particularly for your anatomy qualification, which is your entrant. So make sure that it's with someone that's recognisable. It won't always be the name of the provider that you've trained with. For example, we trade as Second Look Aesthetics, but our accredited provider of qualifications is VTCT, or it is Qualify. Some of the certificates we are able to do in-house, some of them we are not. It depends on which aspect of the qualification is accredited or not. It can be very confusing and very overwhelming if you do not know how to correctly do that. And if it's something that you would like me to do another episode on, if you do pop a comment in the comment section below, I am happy to come back on and just go through some certificates and show you the differences between accredited, non-accredited, just to give you a little bit more insight on how you can check those at home yourselves. But insurance invalidation would be so catastrophic, and this is something that we do need to be more mindful of, and it's not necessarily something that they will tell you about themselves because they are trying to sell you a service. So just make sure that you have got everything that you need. Also, for those of you that may not know what the actual functional aspects differences are from accredited and non-accredited, is that accredited qualifications are checked usually against a framework. So it tells you that those qualifications and those courses have been checked towards a framework that meets a minimum requirement. So they check to make sure that the actual body of the course fits in with a level that is certified. So for example, if I have a course at Second Look Aesthetics that is accredited, I've had to send that off to an outside body, an outside organisation, show them the units, show them the worksheets, and actually show them the whole picture of the qualification that I am offering to that student. And they have to say to me, this meets the standard, this is of an acceptable standard, and that's what makes a qualification accredited. If that's not happened, then it's not been met against any minimum criteria, and that's where you will struggle, especially when industry regulation comes in, because it has never been sent anywhere to be checked that it meets the criteria. And this is unfortunately happening on a very large scale at the moment, something that we're really trying to help with as an organisation. And if you aren't sure, again, I'll just re-emphasise, send us your certificates. We're more than happy to have a look for you. Another point that I will just briefly touch upon is face-to-face learning. So again, if you have done an aesthetics qualification in which you have not completed face-to-face learning, a lot of these qualifications you will not be able to gain proper insurances for. It's always important to check the fine print in your insurance documents, because even though they will take the money to insure you for those, again, if it's not face-to-face, the chances are that they might not cover it. You will have to check with your individual insurance company, broker, just to make sure. But these are extra checks that you should be performing that you might not be told about. So this is why I've put together this video, to try and help you to understand that where you are covered and where you do have that safe visibility. But a lot of distance training courses you will not be able to gain proper insurances for. So even though these tend to be cheaper, more affordable, they definitely have their disadvantages. And you can never quite pick up skill and understanding from a distant learning course the way that you can pick it up face to face. You will pick up things a lot easier, like injection depths, client responses. You will get the advantage of live models, so you can see anything happen live, whether it's a complication, an issue, a reaction to a certain treatment. You can't get this from online learning, because online learning is very one size fits all, and as we know, that's not the case. So always make sure that you are doing your face-to-face learning, and these often do carry CPD points also, in which distance learning sometimes does not. Again, please just make sure that you are checking. So just to summarise and close, I do think that regulation is a positive step for the industry, particularly for non-medics. And I think that we should be looking at this from a very positive point of view, that we will all be on an equal playing field, and that actually, if these regulations are to come into place, that we are all not worrying and waiting for the worst case scenario, that we're being proactive, we're jumping onto qualifications ASAP, and we're working towards them. It doesn't mean that you have to enroll into a qualification and complete it within 6 months. Try and have that as a short to medium term goal for the fact that you are ready if industry regulation comes into place, that you've already taken the first step. It's not to say that you have to have everything completed and signed off. They're not going to expect that, I'm sure, because they have to take human element into account. The fact that this industry is not regulated is not the fault of the public, but it is something that we should all be looking forward to, and it will definitely help to bring more safety and better practices to the aesthetic industry. I really hope that you found today's video helpful, and we've been able to kind of give you a little bit further guidance on regulation, what our thoughts are. And if you want to comment or have any questions on anything that I've covered, please feel free to leave a comment, and we will be more than happy to come back to you as soon as possible on those. And we will see you soon.